Welcome back to 4th and 3 Dudes. We're here for episode 10. It's the Gator Hater Week, and I'm Chris Nama coming to you from here in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
I'm Bernie. St. Mary's. Wearing the shirt. It's official. I voted, and I did not vote for the Gators. I'm a Gator.
Baby.
Cord 3 Letterman. This is excruciating. We've been online for like an hour and a half.
Aren't you an award-winning podcaster too?
Oh, yeah. You see my trophy?
I see your trophy.
Wait, make it bigger. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, yeah.
It wasn't a very prestigious podcasting.
What are you talking about? That's solid gold.
For our listeners, you did not miss much.
No.
For our listeners, I'm pointing to like a gold trophy that almost as heavy as a Heisman.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start off with, hey, you drinking anything? Cord, you just starting with water again today?
Actually, I got a lime salad. Since it took you like an hour and a half to get online. So yeah, there's that.
Not even muddled.
No. It's fresh squeezed.
All right. Well, I've been saving this. This is a legacy bottle.
What the heck?
A bunch of bottles of bourbon before we moved that were like 1, 2, 3, 4 pours. Mostly, I'd say each.
You mixed it all?
Yeah. Each rather than move a bunch of partial bottles, you make a legacy bottle.
Yeah, it's all about transportation and consuming pallet space.
You'd be jealous.
Man.
Some good shit.
I smell a little Old Crow in there.
There is zero Old Crow. Like I said,
somebody's getting pinged again.
Hold on, I think that's the NCAA commissioner.
Woodford, some Maker's Mark, cast strength. It's all good.
All right, so Bernie, I just gotta let you know, in the history of all of whiskey in the last 4,000 years, no one has had what you're drinking right now.
No, that is probably true.
You are a
legend.
Yeah.
Class.
I'm so jealous.
And I am going with.
Oh man, so good.
Absence of light.
Damn, it's got peanut butter light. Oh, my eyes are watering.
From Four Hands Brewing in Missouri. Nice chocolate peanut butter stout.
That's a good one.
It is a good one.
I think Bernie topped this.
Man, Bernie's getting blown up by text too. I mean, his fan club is.
I think I just figured it out.
That's probably his bourbon club texting him with his homebrew whiskey.
Okay,
right.
We got one to cover.
We do. All right. Well, for the Dawgs last week was spent resting and recuperating and getting healthy. Hopefully, Tate Ratner is going to be back in there, and Michael is going to heal up even more, so he can go ahead and wreak havoc in the Florida Gator backfield again. But how did go last week? Go for the Beavers, Cord?
Hold on, I got a ring in my ear. Beavers had a bye.
The Beavers, have a bye coming up.
By choice.
They have a bye coming up.
Yeah.
There was
last week.
They thought they were on a bye last week. Apparently.
You guys really want to go a deep dive in the Beavers?
Well,
don't do a deep dive, but I mean,
all right.
We promised the people
your appetite. I figured it was going to be bad after Cal scored 14 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. And then Cal came in with a great game plan to shut down our running game, and they did. Our pass game, McCoy only had 3 yards, I think, in the first half. And we have no deep threat. I think Oregon State has 20 yards in the air 8 times for the whole season. So we rely heavily on the running game, and they shut that down, and that was it. But based on what the Beavers have went through, I mean, we lost 11 or so of our starters to other teams. after our coach jumped ship and quit. I feel bad for our coach. I mean, he was our, linebacker defensive coordinator from last year, and he stuck around to stick through it. But I mean, gosh, you talk about a shit sandwich of what you have to deal with the conference and all your starters that are going to return leaving. I think if everyone had stayed, we would have been 7-1 by now. Or if we could have beat Oregon, with Ukulele and Damian Martinez and Silas Bolden and our kicker who went to Oregon and the 3 losers that went to Michigan State. If we could beat Oregon, be undefeated right now. Defense, 5 of our starters are true freshmen. So it's a really young team. We don't have any pass rush right now due to industries. Our defensive backs are getting picked apart. We've lost 17 players on defense due to injury, and 1 has come back to play. So the other 16 are out. We got receivers dropping the ball, so there's no help there. Jam Griffin, our running back from Ole Miss that transferred, he's out. His replacement is a true freshman from Texas, Allah. He's doing well, but I mean, he's a true freshman. So it's a shit sandwich. I mean, the good news is
not good.
7 of the 10 trader teams that left the Pac-12 are under 500 in their conference play.
They are.
Arizona State is 2-2. They're at 500. And the only winning programs that left our conference is Colorado and Nike. But we got to bye this week to regroup. Hopefully, we'll get some injured players back in the field, and we're still tied for first in the Pac-12.
Go Beavs.
You do have that going for you.
Beavers are builders, and we've been building way too long, but it sucks.
Well, let's just it's
honestly, I couldn't watch the end of the game. I was having to put hops in the brew and take the grain out and all that mess.
Well, just tell us, how do you feel about the future long term? Say long term meaning 2, 3,
20
5
years.
20 years.
No, 5 years max.
I don't know, because we don't have the Pac-12 teams like the Washingtons, USCs, all the big teams to draw athletes that want to play Division I. I mean, with what we have now, I mean, look at Boise State. I mean, what are they, like 15 or something like right now?
Yeah.
The only game they lost was by 3 points to Oregon at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tough, but you know what? It's always been like that. So what Oregon State does well, is they take diamonds in the rough, polish them, and that's how we survive and excel. I mean, look at Ocho Cinco and all those guys. When they took on Notre Dame down at the Fiesta Bowl, and shoot, we almost took on Florida in the bowl game and caused a shutout. But they scored like a field goal or something like that at the end of the game. So it is what it is. We're used to it. Good thing Beavers are builders.
Keep building.
Just keep chopping, baby. Keep chopping.
All right. On with the show.
He pulled the scab off.
Jeez. Oh yeah, it's gushing. I got a tourniquet.
Well, there were some other big games over the weekend, and I guess a lot of them were blowouts. Oh, we're going to talk about the Commanders? We're going pro now?
Well, I'm just saying a big game. Redskins, Hail Mary, my T-shirt.
Commanders.
All right, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good.
Gord always had a ready T-shirt.
Yes.
Whatever's trending at the time.
Yeah, last week was Arkansas.
There were a lot of blowouts. It was not a great Saturday, I would say. It was a good Saturday. But yeah, Oregon rolled. I think on the biggest game, I mean, y'all can hit on some others, but I thought the biggest game obviously was Texas A&M with LSU, and I thought LSU really kind of showed they were about ready to dominate that night game that we kind of waited for all afternoon. And then Texas A&M changes quarterbacks, and it's a totally different game. And to be honest, I put LSU in my rankings for the playoffs last week, thinking that whoever won that game, I would be able to take maybe both of them out. And really, you gotta give respect to A&M. They showed they're ready to play with some people, because that kid, made no mistakes, and the team kind of rallied around him. And I was impressed with A&M, even though I took LSU, which in hindsight was not a good idea. But that was, in my mind, that was the best game of the day.
Yeah,
LSU didn't prepare for that other quarterback.
No, they were shocked.
Yeah, they got smoked. I blame that on the coaches.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, Mike Elko pulled his best Nick Saban with pulling Tua off the bench. I mean, he pulled Marcel Reed out there, and I mean, again, it was a totally different thing. You had a true running quarterback. I mean, he didn't pass for very many yards at all.
I think he passed twice.
Say that again.
I think he had two. He was 2 for 2.
Yeah. I mean, but he was just doing everything on the ground. They couldn't get him down. That running attack, he scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, the first 5 drives, or maybe all 5 drives he was in, they scored. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's an interesting wrinkle now for people to now prepare for that. So yeah, it looks like they could probably be sticking with him at least for the near future until something changes again. But Vanderbilt almost taking Texas was a fun game to watch. Well, Court, everything okay there?
I don't know. The struggle is real.
Vandy looked the part, but I think they look legitimate at times, but then also they look like they're stranded at times on offense. And I really thought they would be able to come back against Texas, but
dude, Texas was number 1 for how long? And they only lost by 3 points?
Yeah, that
was awesome.
As those of us who followed the SEC for forever, it's unfathomable that a powerhouse, blue blood
that
like
was awesome.
Go to Vanderbilt and almost get beat. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I like Pavia. I like his energy, but I think sometimes he gets flushed and just overwhelmed by a good defense. And I think Texas had just enough to overwhelm him in the end, and that's what.
Yeah, but think about the money they're pushing out, plus the academic standards. You got Pavia coming from New Mexico State to Vanderbilt in the SEC, and then you got Texas with all that money down there coming up to Vandy, and Saban says that's the easiest place to win.
That's what he said.
Are you kidding me?
Well, this year.
Well, I mean, I think part of it too, Pavia in the middle of the game, I think got a little bit banged up, but I mean, he was able to pull it back together to get back in there. But I mean, and Texas wasn't number 1 for that long. So Alabama, I mean, that's one of the things. They were only for a week or 2 until we knocked them down. So I mean, again, when Alabama got beat, because Alabama had jumped to number 1 after us. But anyway, so it's gonna be interesting to see how long Oregon can hang out there.
Ma, meatloaf.
Well, I think maybe at this point the question is, how many true contenders are there in the SEC? Yeah, I think we have Georgia. In my mind, solid road win against Texas. Solid road stronging in the second half against Alabama. We'll see. Do it at Ole Miss, who we do this weekend, but I mean, who else after that? A&M showed me a lot. I'm not sure how much, but I don't really think Texas is in there. Their offensive line has serious questions after these.
They only got 1 loss though.
Yeah, but they are not ready for the long haul. But I mean, any other teams in the SEC y'all see going the distance, first, second round in the playoffs?
I mean, the biggest thing for me is that, I mean, again, we talked about it last week and whatever. I mean, I think somebody said college football's drunk this year. I mean, there is nothing that is necessarily going as planned. Georgia, I mean, again, they looked every bit the part against Texas when they played them. But we haven't looked that way at all times. It's one of those things where you're hoping as people are getting healthier and everything, we're going to be able to see that, especially that defensive showing from Georgia again, moving forward. And then hopefully Carson and the receivers and everybody at the offense will have a little bit of time over these past 2 weeks to figure some things out and do what they had done in the second half against Alabama. I mean, it's one of those things, if you got to have that complete game. I mean, we have not seen a complete game from Georgia yet, I don't think. I mean, Clemson was a really good game overall, but I mean, the rest of them, we won. One of the side didn't look that good or was issues with it. I mean, the Texas, I mean, again, we scored on short fields, and for the most part, we did make the drives when we needed to toward the end, but I mean, the defense is what was the name or set everything up for us in that game. So
I think a lot of teams have that issue. I mean, Alabama and Arkansas and Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, all those teams have issues. They're all good, but it's going to be a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was trying to get to, is that there is a Georgia that can probably put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that more in the Florida preview. And then there's a lot of teams that seem like they probably can, that are maybe a half a step below Georgia. So you're right, Neil. It's just a drunk season, and we don't know what's going to come out of this. We don't know. I mean, I've seen this week on arguments of the best place for Georgia to be is outside of the SEC championship.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the only guaranteed spot into the playoffs is to win the SEC. So
right.
I want to win the SEC. I mean, that's my personal opinion, and to go to the playoffs. But I mean, there are legitimate arguments that you can back your way in and get a home game the first round and get the extra buy-in and beat up on a other team and advance. But you're right, it's a different season. We don't know really what to expect, but that's kind of the way I see it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's made it fun. I mean, it's one of those things. It truly is. Every week there's something happening that nobody expects, it seems. So I mean, if teams can hopefully the last third of the season, which is crazy to say that we're in the last third of the season almost, the ones that can figure out a way to be able to put it all together on a consistent basis, I mean, those are the ones that are going to do it. I mean, Oregon has had a really good showing against that game with Ohio State, but they're the only teams that each other has played. I mean, Ohio State's going to have to roll into Happy Valley this week, but I mean, all the big teams, it seems like Georgia's had games against more ranked teams, I think, than most other people that were ranked when we played them. And so, I mean, I think that's something that's definitely going in our favor. But again, we've just got to figure out a way to at least be at least a B-level team on both sides of the ball in a game. And I think we can do really well moving forward. So
I think that's where we can rely on being that 5th to 8th seed. We get another loss, we lose to say Ole Miss on the road, we still are considered for the playoffs. We don't make the SEC championship maybe, but a loss at LSU and at Alabama, I mean, you can't really fault that. But you're right, there's just a lot of variables still. I mean, we're almost in November and we're still trying to figure shit out. So I mean, it's week to week, so that's where we are.
But Ohio State's not as good as they have been in the past. I mean, they struggle with Nebraska.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Beat them by 4 points.
Yep. I mean, again, I think the point I made last week about the depth of teams too. I mean, it's one of those where you really are. I mean, it's like one of the things that I was listening to this week. They didn't say which coach it was, but they said a coach in the top 10 said that moving forward, they're going to quit recruiting multiple 5-stars at a single position because the current landscape, it doesn't make sense, because if you have the one 5-star that cements himself in the starting position, the other one's not going to stick around to be the backup. So I think we're getting to games in the second half of games. Because I mean, again, Texas was up up big up on Vanderbilt, but then lost it in the second half. Just where you see these teams with the incredible depth. I mean, like the Georgia teams with the defenses in the past, and I mean, and the number of running backs we had to be able to pound people and sustain that over 4 quarters. When now we've only got 2 running backs we can count on, 3 with Cash or whatever. But I mean, it's one of those things, you don't have the depth to sustain you through the whole game, which is making it possible for other teams to have a puncher's chance to come and take somebody out that they, in past years, could have never fathomed them doing. So,
well, there's one team we know has no chance of punching their way in, and that's Florida.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Oregon State. Thank you.
Well,
it's
we got a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. Yep. All right. Well,
let's transition to this Saturday on the St. John's against Florida in the world's largest.
Florida's got nothing to lose.
They have everything to lose.
They got nothing to lose. They've already lost it. The only thing they're going to lose is they're going to lose all their fans at halftime at the game.
They're 4-3. They can still make the bowl game. They have to win one of the next.
One of the 100 bowl games. Who cares?
So they have something to prove, but I don't think it's going to happen on Saturday.
Although their quarterback has the highest yardage per completion of any quarterback in the country.
Well, when you only do 3 completions, it really doesn't matter, does it? I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just being devil's advocate here.
It's almost true. That is almost true. So,
and that's my first point. We have defensively Saturday. We have to contain him, but also limit him because he can throw the deep ball. I mean, I believe Lagway can throw the deep ball and consistently and can hurt us that way, but. I also feel like he can hurt us with his legs a little bit. He's not known as a big runner, but he can get yards with his legs. So we have to contain him while also providing pressure, and that's going to be the biggest challenge Saturday. And I hope we see a similar defensive game scheming that we saw on Texas, even though Ewer's not really a runner, but we showed some different looks in the secondary where we mixed up some zone with some man, and maybe we can confuse the young kid even more than the experienced professional in Ewers and get some picks, get some turnovers, or get some 3 and outs.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. We're going to need that effort from our front 7 again to be able to make it so that our defensive backs can have the ability to have a shorter time trying to cover those receivers, not let them get those deep balls. So, I mean, I think that's going to be huge. And again, hopefully Mike Ellie is even healthier. If he's healthier than he was against Texas, that's scary for them. So
because he definitely know play count, and we can't have someone that has to spy Lagway. He's not worthy of a spy. I don't think. I haven't seen maybe nearly enough, but. I don't think we have to spy him, but we need to have someone like Mike Held that can have enough snaps to help the defensive line gain that pressure that we saw against Texas. That would be great.
Yeah, it definitely would. And then offensively, I mean, I think we're gonna again getting Ratledge back on the offensive line. Hopefully, is gonna let Etienne roll back in to a game against his former teammates, and because again, I think we need to be able to run a little more effectively to help Beck set up the pass. So, whether or not we get Frazier more involved again, or if we're going to just give a steady dose of Etienne, I mean, I think we really need to get him going.
Yeah, I think we're going to run a lot. I think they're susceptible to that. I think we're just going to rotate them in. I hope that we can downfield block. I hope we worked on that in the off week, because I mean, ATN, you can see there's times when he's just ready for one more block, and that'll get him 20, 30, maybe in the whole length of the field to get to the touchdown, because he's that kind of player. And the offensive line is doing it with or without Tate Ratledge. Ratledge would be a great addition, but we can block on the edge and spring him. Then that would be exceptional.
Yes.
Exceptional.
Yeah. But again, and hopefully we can clean up some of the drops and things like that, and stay away from the turnover bug.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that game time, that whole stadium is going to be 60% Georgia fans and 40% Florida fans. And then at halftime, it's going to be 60% Georgia fans and like 1% Florida fans, because they're all going to leave at halftime. It's going to be a big blowout. Just like, and if you've never been to that game, you can tell, as far as the 50-50 rule, which team's doing better in the season.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Your mouth to God ears.
Well, I'm just saying, as an unconscious observer, that's how I see it. It's kind of neat to see, or it's kind of telling of what the fans think is going to happen. So Beck's going to be pulled out in the fourth quarter, and the mercy rule is going to be implemented, and they're just going to keep the clock running, just like in high school.
Just like in high school.
Yep. Anything else?
I mean, no, we gotta find that complete game and get it done early.
I don't even think you need a complete game. I think you can limp along and still just crush them.
Well, I agree with Nama. I want a complete game because, like we talked about last week, if we have a slow start, Thornton punting it, and if we get a couple of first downs and have a long field goal, Woodring, I mean, that's what we need to kind of keep things going, because we saw in the Texas game that this team feeds off of that, and they can build to a long lead going into halftime. And I think if we have that kind of lead against Florida and Jacksonville Saturday, I mean, they're done. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Man, it's just, again, I come from that's the unfortunate thing. Even though Georgia has such a huge lead overall in the series, it was just, living through the 90s.
You know what? You guys need to forget and forgive. That second string could beat them.
Well,
that's kind of, Name makes a good point. Y'all make a good point. We lived through the 90s when we were 1-9 in the whole decade.
I didn't.
And we have fans that don't remember the 90s, and we have Cord, who wasn't around in the 90s, at least here.
I was getting my head beat in.
But I mean, this game means everything to me. It means I always want to be. I mean, you remember when we had Donnan, and we had even the bad Rick years. There were all these polls. If you could go winless but beat Florida,
yep,
you take it. And I wouldn't say yes, but you have to hang over that choice, because this game, that's what it means. You have to beat Florida, and I hate them.
I get it. I
hate
get
them
it.
motherfuckers.
I think the team knows that, and they're going to be ready.
Yeah.
I think they will, and I think, but on the other hand, let's give respect to Napier. I mean,
nope, not doing it. You do it. I'm not doing it.
Let's present to give respect to Napier, because he was hired to turn things around recruiting, and that hasn't happened. And some of that's not his fault, but they're going to be at a choice where they have to say, we're going to, be honest, and we're going to give you an extra year, or
call Dan Lanning,
or cut a check, is what I'm getting to, because they haven't had the money, and that's why one of their backup quarterbacks. That's why one of their backup quarterbacks is now on our roster suing them. So
red flag.
It's not a good situation down there, and I think he's done the best he could, but he's just not ready. He wasn't ready for that dumpster fire, and I hope the dumpster fire gets a bunch of fuel poured on it Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, again, you talk about the what ifs with Oregon State. I mean, hell, they should have beat Tennessee, and then their other two losses are just to Miami and to Texas A&M, who are both.
You say Oregon State should be Tennessee? I totally agree.
But yeah, I mean, Florida, one of those things. I mean, talk about fuel getting put on the fire. I mean, that's the thing, is that they've really got to win a game against us,
Right.
Texas, LSU, or Ole Miss. They've got to win one of those 4 games, which are all going to be underdogs in. The last game of the year is against FSU, which, speaking of dumpster fires. But yeah, they got to win one of those games to be able to get bowl eligible too. So
we talked about that. They had that Tennessee game in the hand. They just couldn't score.
Right.
They couldn't score. I mean, how are they? I just don't feel like they can score against us.
Right.
And they had to, put them into overtime. I mean, I feel like our offense is better enough to goodbye, Cord. Is good enough to put them in a hole that they can't dig out of, and I hope we beat them senseless.
Yep. Well, we gotta see if we can get Cord back in here.
We haven't done lots of the week.
I know. If I'd have said he left early. I wonder if one of his battery died. I'm sure we'll get a text from him in a minute.
So, any other games you think this weekend, NAMA? I mean, you think any other games are national type games?
Oh yeah. I mean, the noon kickoff with Ohio State and Penn State in Happy Valley. I think Penn State would have preferred that to be a night game and then to make it a whiteout. I don't know if they're going to make it a whiteout, but I think Ohio State's coming in as a favorite. How much? About 3.5 points over
3.5.
Over Penn State. And I mean, Penn State has been, I don't think they've won that game in 8-9 years. Franklin's looking to be able to do something, and Penn State's been hoping against all odds to be able to figure out a way to get over the hump and get themselves into the Big Ten championship. And I think they're going to be doing everything they can. And I mean, with the struggle that Ohio State had with Nebraska this past week, I think that's going to be a pretty big one.
And that's the one I'm just not pulling for either of them. But
right.
But I think the only other one, Clemson at Louisville. Clemson's been rolling, but Louisville could spring up.
A&M in South Carolina. They got to travel to South Carolina and see if they can continue that, because Shane Beamer has special things.
Line, isn't it? That's a weird line.
2.5 for A&M. So in South Carolina. So
people know something about South Carolina that we don't. I mean, I guess we've seen it. We saw it at Kentucky. I mean, they did better in Lexington than we did, but that was a weird line for me after A&M's big game Saturday night. So there's just a lot of lines I'm not really sure about this weekend, but I guess when Core gets back, we'll look at locks of the week. But other than that,
Ole Miss, Arkansas, in Arkansas,
Indiana should roll. They're going to be undefeated still. Yeah. I do like Arkansas at Ole Miss.
I do too.
Getting the whole touchdown. I think the shine is a little bit off of Ole Miss. To be honest, I think even the broadcasters mentioned it Saturday, where I was like, he brought all these players in, and the locker room, just kind of suffers with all these transfer students, because some of them were leaders on their previous team and they're expecting to be leaders, and then you got previous leaders at Ole Miss, and it has to be a nightmare to try to keep everybody on the same page. And I think if I had my guess, that's what's going on in Oxford with Ole Miss, because they should be a really good team, but they're not showing on the field.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, it depends on if they get their receiver back too.
They're hurt. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, again, I think those are the biggest ones, Tennessee and Kentucky. I mean, which Kentucky is going to show up? The one that's been as bad as they have been recently, or the one that played against Georgia that had a defense that was pretty much lights out too. Although we were having plenty of offensive troubles, but I mean Tennessee is another one that's been so inconsistent to me. It'll be interesting to see if
they were built as like a passing team, but I mean they're a better running team. I mean, and that's going to make them one-dimensional unless that kid can start hitting some receivers downfield like he was doing against the lesser opponents.
Yeah. Well, you want to take a quick break and wait for Cord to see if we get Cord back in here?
Yeah. Let's go to our advertisers.
Oh, wait. Hold on. There he is. Lord have mercy.
This is Cord's way of saying he took Metamucil too early.
And so now it's on, but all my ring lights are out, so I don't know what to do. It's just chaos. All right, so what were we talking about?
Well, we've wrapped up the show.
All right, thank you very much. The show's over.
No. We were just talking about some of the other big games this week coming up, but we're about ready to get into our. Actually, do you need to review our locks of the week from last week there, Bernie? Then we can get into the picks for this week.
Oh, well, give me a minute.
Uh-oh.
Where's he going?
I guess he forgot to get his little notebook with the locks of the week in it.
I'm surprised I was able to get back online so fast. You guys talk about Ohio State, Ole Miss?
We talked about Ohio State traveling to Happy Valley and going to have a fight on their hands and see if Penn State can finally overcome or get over the hump and beat one of their Big Ten rivals for once to get themselves in line.
I don't know. Ohio State's not as good as they always have been.
Right.
And they would always run up the score, but they haven't been able to.
Right.
I might take Penn State on that one.
Yeah, I'm hoping Penn State. I'm rooting for Penn State personally, but yeah.
I hope they both lose. So last week, Cord had Boise State -3. They won. That was a Friday night, right?
Correct.
Easy pick. Cord moves to 7-1-1.
Should be
Naaman had Vandy plus 18.5. He did not need nearly that many points.
Lock of the week, baby.
And he moves to 5-4.
Told you I was over 500. Yep.
And I had Arkansas -6.5. And they won.
Woo!
Yes. And I moved to 5-4.
Yep.
So
over 500.
Woohoo!
Yes.
You guys are out of the lock of the week basement?
We're still tied.
last time we did this, we went back into the basement.
Okay, well, don't do that.
I thought it was 2 weeks in a row that everybody hit.
Maybe so, but who y'all got this week?
I've been hitting. I don't know what you guys been doing.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go first. I think I'm gonna roll with them Hoosiers up in Indiana.
Good one.
Thinking they're gonna beat up on that old Oregon State turncoat trader coach and be able to cover the 7.5 pretty easily. I think they might win closer to maybe 20 points. So I'm going to take
at Michigan State, right?
It is. Okay. It is. So, but I'm gonna roll with Indiana.
That was my second pick.
So who's your first?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Oh, wait a minute. Chris, where did you get this Hollywood Squares Brady Bunch setup?
Got it off a canvas.
Why is the beaver always on the bottom?
No.
I mean, Chris, you got a lot of gum underneath your desk. And Bernie, do you realize Bernie's feet don't reach the floor? His chair is so high.
What are we talking about?
I took his shoes.
Oh.
I got both your shoes, Bernie. All right, so my lock of the week.
This is where he went.
It is going to be the University of Patchouli and Bongwater at Michigan.
Minus what?
-4. No. Minus 14.5. Is that what they
14
are?
14 and a hay is what I got.
It's 15 right now.
Oh.
Absolutely. I mean, if Michigan State could barely lose by 4 points, all they can do is run. They can't pass. They're having issues, even though it's at home. I think Dan Lanning's going to cheat for at least 25 points. So that's my lock of the week is University of Zero.
Versus Michigan.
At Michigan.
In the big house.
Right.
Go blue. Only by the points. I'd rather have Michigan win, but, they've been decimated.
Well,
all right, what you got, B?
I wore the. I'm laying the points because fuck them. I hate Florida. Always have. Can't stand them. We're going to go down and take care of business. Laying the 16. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. All
Is
right,
it 16 now? Oh, yeah, it is 16.
Okay, it's 16 and a half earlier today. It's already moving all over the place. Well,
that's
awesome.
been an issue. That's been an issue. Are we good?
Hey, whatever it is right now.
I say 28.
Okay.
And that's
all
without the Hail Mary at the end of the game.
You gotta box out the last man. You can't be taunting the fans in the stands when the ball's being snapped.
Oh, that was awesome!
Right. I told him a pregame. That kid tipped it to him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He was the one. He was the one who actually did it. He was over in the corner of the end zone taunting the Commanders fans, and the ball was snapped, and he's like, "Ooh, hold on, I better get over here."
But you talk about a great fan reaction. If you've seen those videos, they're all filming that, and they just go nuts.
For our listener, hey, Mom, we're talking about the Washington game where a defender did not defend so well and Washington won. And Cord is wearing a Washington shirt.
He is.
Surprise!
Old school Washington. Before they were the Commanders.
Well,
but anyway.
Actually, they announced they were going to the Commanders, and I got the next day before Amazon ran out.
Nice. Got the steal of the week.
John Riggins.
Yep.
Hey, great pregame. Next year is the last game in Jacksonville for a couple years. They announced today. They're not going to go home and home. And there are opinions about this. It's going to go 1 year in Atlanta in 2026, and then Tampa 2027 while they're rebuilding the stadium. So next year, we pregame with the ladies today. Next year we'll do it real right here. And there's a lot of people that wanted to go home and home, and I'm sorry. I don't think that was the right decision. I like it as a world lost outdoor party.
It's apparently you've been that special bottle of bourbon is taken ready there already.
What?
I think it was the peppers. And I like it away from the campuses, and I don't want Gators on my campus. And so we'll keep this rolling. Hope it does, and go Dogs.
Yep. They did say the other part of it too is that Georgia and Florida both make almost $5 million when the game is played at a neutral site versus around the 3.5 they make for getting it played at home campus.
Money.
Why is that?
It's all about the money.
Why is that?
Just the take from the other venues.
And it's the gate, and it's the city, and it's everything. They
make more money playing at a neutral site than if they just would cash it at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's more capacity. What's the money
capacity?
Less capacity.
Where does the money come from then?
You get incentives from like you said, from the cities and everything too. They pay for all the expenses and everything else for the teams traveling in.
I see. So so they're paying, and then city makes more.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
And the school makes more. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. All right. So for everybody traveling down to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, whether you're in St. Simons, Amelia Island, St. Mary's, or Jacksonville, have a great time. Be safe and root those dogs on. Be safe. Have fun. And go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
All right, Bernie, I'll send you your shoes.
Just get there in time for the game.